Have you ever felt like something changed, but you couldn't explain it? She still replies, she still smiles, she still says she's busy, but somehow you no longer feel important. The truth is, most relationships don't fall apart in one dramatic moment. They slowly shift. And one of the most painful shifts happens when you stop being someone she chooses and become someone she simply keeps around. The scary part? Most men don't notice it until it's far too late. Today, we'll uncover 5 painful psychological signs that she has started seeing you as just an option. These signs are subtle, backed by human behavior, and often ignored because hope makes us blind. And make sure you stay until the 5th sign, because it's the one almost every man misunderstands. Let's be clear about something before we begin. Seeing someone as an option doesn't automatically make them a bad person. Sometimes people lose emotional investment without realizing it. Sometimes priorities change, sometimes feelings fade gradually instead of disappearing overnight. Psychologically, when emotional certainty decreases, people begin protecting their own comfort instead of protecting the relationship. That's when their behavior changes, not through dramatic arguments, but through small decisions repeated every day. If you've been feeling confused lately, pay close attention to these signs, because awareness always comes before better decisions. Let's begin. Sign 1, you only hear from her when it's convenient. At first, conversations happened naturally. She wanted to know how your day was. She sent random messages. She shared funny things she found online. Now, you notice a pattern. She reaches out only when she has free time, only when she's bored, only when other plans fall through. Psychologists call this convenience-based interaction. It happens when emotional motivation becomes replaced by situational motivation. In simple words, she's not talking because she misses you. She's talking because the timing happens to suit her. Imagine this. You text her on Monday, no response. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday evening, suddenly she replies with, "Sorry, I've been busy." Then the conversation lasts only until someone else calls her. This isn't always intentional, but it reveals something important. People naturally make time for what carries emotional importance. When someone consistently fits you into the empty spaces of their schedule, instead of making space for you, your position has changed. And many men ignore this because they focus on the reply instead of noticing the pattern behind it. The question isn't, did she answer? The better question is, when does she choose to answer? That timing often reveals more than the words themselves. Sign 2. Your presence no longer changes her emotional state. Think back to the beginning. When you appeared, her energy changed. She smiled more. She became curious. Conversations felt alive. Now something feels different. Whether you're there or not, nothing really changes. Psychology tells us that emotionally invested people experience what's called emotional responsiveness. The presence of someone meaningful naturally influences mood, attention, and engagement. But when someone starts viewing another person as optional, that emotional response weakens. Notice the little things. She doesn't seem excited when you arrive. She ends conversations without hesitation. She doesn't ask follow-up questions anymore. It's almost as if your absence carries the same emotional weight as your presence. Imagine walking into a room months ago, her face lit up. Today, she barely looks up from her phone. No argument happened, no dramatic breakup, just indifference. And indifference often speaks louder than rejection. Because rejection still requires emotion. Indifference often means emotional investment has quietly faded. That realization hurts, but understanding it helps you see reality more clearly. Sign 3, she stops including you in her future. Here's something fascinating about human psychology. People naturally imagine the future with those they feel emotionally connected to. Without even thinking about it, they say things like, "We should visit that place someday. You'll love meeting my friends. We should watch that movie together." Future language reflects emotional certainty, but once someone becomes uncertain, those future references slowly disappear. Listen carefully. Instead of we, you hear I. Instead of shared plans, you hear individual plans. Imagine asking, "What are you doing next month?" Instead of inviting you into the conversation, she simply explains her schedule. No mention of you, no assumption you'll be part of it. Again, this doesn't prove anything by itself, but repeated patterns matter. When someone emotionally prioritizes you, their future naturally creates space for your presence. When that space disappears, it often reflects an internal emotional shift. Many men chase harder at this stage. They think, if I do more, she'll include me again. But emotional connection isn't created through pressure. It's built through mutual desire, and desire cannot be negotiated. So far, we've covered 3 signs. Maybe you've recognized one, maybe 2, or maybe every single one feels painfully familiar. But the next 2 signs are even more subtle. They're the ones that quietly destroy confidence because they don't feel obvious at first. If you're finding value in this video, take a second to like it. It helps more people discover content that encourages healthier relationships and emotional awareness. Now, let's continue. Sign 4. She invests less while expecting the same from you. Healthy relationships have natural balance, not perfect equality every day, but mutual effort over time. One person plans this week, the other plans next week. One person checks in, the other reaches out later. The energy flows both directions. But once someone starts seeing you as optional, that balance slowly disappears. You become the planner, the initiator, the problem solver, the emotional supporter. Meanwhile, her investment quietly decreases. Psychologists describe this as declining reciprocal investment. People naturally reduce effort toward relationships they unconsciously value less. Imagine this: you're always suggesting conversations, you're always making plans, you're always apologizing first, you're always trying to fix misunderstandings. One day, you stop initiating, days pass, nothing happens, not because she's angry, because she simply doesn't feel urgency anymore. This realization can be incredibly painful, especially for men who confuse persistence with commitment. Remember, love isn't measured by how hard one person works. It's measured by whether both people continue choosing each other. And if the relationship only survives because you're carrying it, it may already be emotionally unbalanced. Sign 5. She keeps you close, but never makes you feel chosen. This is the most misunderstood sign because it creates the most confusion. She hasn't disappeared, she still responds occasionally, she still acts friendly, she still says you're important, yet you never actually feel secure. Psychology calls this intermittent reinforcement, small moments of attention mixed with long periods of emotional distance. Ironically, this pattern often creates stronger emotional attachment because uncertainty keeps people hoping for the next positive moment. Think about a slot machine. Most pulls lose, but one unexpected win keeps people playing. Human emotions can react similarly. One caring message, after weeks of distance, can suddenly erase every doubt until the cycle repeats. She gives just enough attention to keep the connection alive, but never enough to build emotional certainty. You're left constantly wondering, does she still care? Am I overthinking? Maybe next week things will change. That uncertainty becomes exhausting. Here's the painful truth. Someone who genuinely chooses you doesn't make you feel like you're constantly competing for basic emotional consistency. Real connection doesn't remove every doubt, but it also doesn't survive on endless uncertainty. Being someone's option often feels confusing because they never fully leave. They simply stop fully choosing. And that's what makes this sign so difficult to recognize. The bigger psychological picture. When people emotionally downgrade a relationship, they rarely announce it. Instead, their behavior changes first. Less effort, less curiosity, less consistency, less emotional presence. Notice something important. None of today's signs focused on dramatic betrayal, because in real life, relationships usually change through small psychological shifts repeated over time. That's why awareness matters, not to become suspicious, not to become fearful, but to become emotionally honest with yourself. Instead of asking, how can I make someone choose me? Ask a better question. Is this relationship showing mutual investment? That question protects your self-respect because healthy relationships aren't built by convincing someone of your value. They're built when two people consistently recognize each other's value without constant persuasion. The strongest relationships don't require endless guessing. They create emotional clarity. If you've noticed one of these signs, don't panic. One difficult week doesn't define an entire relationship. Life becomes stressful, people become distracted, everyone goes through emotional ups and downs. But if several of these patterns continue over time, it's worth paying attention. Not because you're looking for reasons to leave, but because you're looking at reality instead of wishful thinking. The healthiest response isn't chasing harder, it isn't demanding more attention, it isn't trying to become someone you're not. Sometimes the healthiest response is observing calmly, communicating honestly, and recognizing whether effort still flows in both directions, because your emotional energy deserves to be invested where it's appreciated, not where it's merely tolerated. Never forget this. Being valued feels different from simply being available, and once you understand that difference, you stop settling for being someone's backup plan. You begin looking for relationships where choosing each other becomes natural, not something one person has to earn every single day. If this video made you see relationships from a different perspective, let us know in the comments. Which of these 5 signs do you think most people overlook? Your thoughts might help someone else who's struggling with the same questions. And if you enjoy psychology, emotional intelligence, and relationship insights that help you understand people on a deeper level, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.